to the Mayor's Forum. I'm Joe Petty, Mayor of the City of Worcester. Joining me on today's show is Deborah Packard from Preservation Worcester. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
It's great to have you. I know we have some important issues to discuss.
We do.
At Preservation Worcester.
We definitely do.
Before we start on some of the issues that you're addressing, maybe we just talk about the mission of Preservation Worcester and why your organization is so important to the city.
Yes, our mission is to save for future generations the architecture of the city, and we also have a component of excellence in new design. So what we do is advocate and educate for the architecture around the city of Worcester.
Oh, great. What are some of your bigger projects? I know you're working on the clock. We'll talk the clock tower up at the State Hospital. But before we get into that, maybe some of your big projects in the past, some good accomplishments that you made for the city of Worcester by preserving some old buildings.
Well, one of our first projects was saving Mechanics Hall, which really is a gem in Worcester. We were founded in 1969, and that was one of our first projects. Union Station was another important project for us. And most recently, I know you know that we were involved with Spencer Savings Bank in an arrangement for the Fire Alarm and Telegraph building in Elm Park, which is a wonderful success, I think. And then
that's a great project because it brings in the neighborhood. They had people over in the area who were very involved with the park, the Elm Park, and want to see that whole area, succeed.
Right, and I go around and I ask people, how long has this building been vacant? And it's been so long that nobody can answer it. It's been about 30 years since really anything's gone on in that building.
And I think the school department used it for
for
storage issues. And,
so that's really exciting. And then last fall we launched an audio tour of the Canal District in Worcester. And this is new for the city. I think it's the first tour that anyone can take off a smartphone. So that's pretty exciting.
And how did the launch go? Pretty good?
The launch went really well. We had it at Union Station. We had about 80 people there.
Wow, that's great.
Charter TV was there, Channel 3, and the tour actually starts at Union Station, so it's a perfect place for us to host that.
Oh, great. Let's go into one of your main issues now, which is the preservation of the clock tower at the new state, the old state and the new state hospital that they're building right now. And why do you think that's so important for the city of Worcester? And what are we going to do to try to make it happen? And maybe give a little history where you were at one point in time. Then we'll go into where we are now, how things have changed. And
well, we published our first most endangered list in 1995, and the Worcester State Hospital was on that list. It's appeared 7 more times. So we have been working to try and find a reuse for that hospital complex since 1995. I think many people will know that there was a fire there in 1991, and there was a lot of demolition then. And then around 2006, it was decided to join the Westboro and Worcester State Hospitals and have the hospital in Worcester, which is a wonderful success for the city. But the site that the state chose to build the hospital was on the grounds of the former state hospital. So we had entered into an agreement with the state in 2007 that they would demolish most of the hospital, but they would really make an effort to reuse the clock tower and the Hooper turret. And we found out this summer that they determined it was not feasible for a number of reasons, which was a real disappointment to us because we had been going under the assumption that if they didn't find a reuse, that they would keep it as an architectural monument and just leave it there. And Worcester has a long legacy in the treatment of mentally ill. It's thought to be the first publicly funded state hospital in the country, or mental health facility. A lot of important people have been there, including Sigmund Freud. Pastoral counseling was developed there. So one of the things is when you lose something like a building, you lose the history often with it. So we felt it was really important. In November, we met again with officials from the state. We presented an option to just save the clock part of the tower as a monument, and we are going back and forth with the state right now about that, but it looks promising that there'll be a monument. You know, we came to the City Council and
yes,
you gave us your unanimous support.
Yeah, I think that, the council wants to see you succeed on this. I think you're absolutely correct. That has historical value to the city of Worcester. You know, it was, like you were saying, it's the first institution of its kind in the United States.
Right.
And that was built in the 1870s, was it? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
And so it has a history to it. The clock tower is a beautiful sight to see. You can see it from a distance.
Right. That's one of the things. It's really important, I think, to residents because they see it on the skyline.
Now I know what the City Council did. We just filed a resolution supporting you, and I noticed on your website that you have the first page is dedicated on how people can help. Right. And what we'd like to see from people, write letters to the state, or
yes, if you can contact your state representatives. Also, we have a Facebook page that you can like, and you can get that right through the homepage of our website. And you just, if you're on Facebook, you can go to that website, to that link, and like us. We have over 900. I think we have about 950 likes right now. We have an iPetition that they can also access from our website.
Oh, that's great. That's. So, and what about, I know it's one of the articles before you came to the City Council, and I think you were talking about the idea, for them to take down the clock tower in the building, it'd be more money than to try to preserve the clock tower. Did I get that point right? Or?
Well, at one point, the state had produced a reuse study in 2008, which was a draft, and in that study they said it would be $3.2 million to save the structure as a monument, and they had told us it would be $3.5 million to demolish it. It's not cheap to demolish a building, so it just seemed obvious to us that they would keep it up because that was they said the second best alternative to to reusing the building. But when we met with the state last summer, they had changed it, and now they're saying it's about $15 to $16 million to stabilize the building.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. So,
wow.
that's a lot of money.
But if we can at least preserve the clock tower, get that project off the ground, and it should be a little bit cheaper money to do that, I would think, right?
Right, right. It's confusing. We don't have the exact figures, and part of it will include a demolition, which will be bundled into it. But from speaking to the state officials, they think they have the money there to do what we'd like. Well,
great. We're going to go to a break right now, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Forum. With our guest today is Deborah Packard from Preservation Worcester. Deb, we were talking about the clock tower, and maybe give a little background, like where the project was originally, and what you're proposing, and what the state's proposing, and how you want to proceed. And again, we'll talk about one more time how people can help out.
Okay, great. We had a meeting with the state on January 5th, and we were astonished because we had presented our idea of the monument to them in November, and then they had kind of procrastinated meeting with us again, and had filed demolition paperwork. So we were really concerned. But when we met with them, they actually had taken our proposal pretty seriously, and they propose something similar. But what the state wants to do is actually take down the whole building, the clock tower part of it. They'd like to number all the stones, and then they'd like to put a new substructure up, and then put the tower on top of it.
So you could still see it from a distance?
So you could still see it from a distance. That is not our preference for a number of reasons. One is that it's no longer historic, really. When you take it down and reassemble it, it's a replication. It's not the historic structure. Also, we really worry that once it's down, what happens if it doesn't make it up again? So our preference would be to have it stay in place if that's possible. And last Friday we met with Jim McGovern, and he was very helpful and supportive. So he's going to help us through this mediation process with the state on that.
Now, if you wanted to keep the clock tower and not the building, do we have a cost estimate on how much that would be?
The state feels it will be about $7 million, but that will include the demolition of the and the remediation. That there's asbestos. There's a lot of that actually has to do with the demolition. We're thinking there's probably an extra $2 million in the project, but they have the money for the demolition in place, and they think that they're under budget on the complex, so they think that the money's there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that would be wonderful.
It would be, yes.
Great. Well, it's good luck on that project. If I can be any help with the City Council and the people out there in the community, if you want to contact your state representative, Jim McGovern's office, or even the State House.
Right. You know, I think it's made a big difference. The City Council supporting us. The T&G has been very supportive of us. They had a poll in the paper, and 80% of the people who answered wanted to see the clock tower saved in some fashion. And I think we got the attention of the officials at DCAM and the Department of Mental Health.
Oh, great.
So
great.
Thank you.
I wish you success on that project.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the other projects you got going on. I know you have a top 10 list on your website where you have where you want to save other sites here in the city of Worcester.
Right.
Maybe we can start with the Oddfellows home. I know so.
Yes. The Oddfellows home is one of 3 properties on our endangered list this year that the city has a year demolition delay ordinance, and the ordinance has expired on that property. And I don't know if anybody has driven by lately or if you have, but it's up near Higgins Armory. Yep. And windows are broken, and it's in bad shape, and the company that owns it can tear it down, so we're really concerned about that property. But another property that we had on that list, Our Lady of Fatima Church, which was also under the year demolition delay ordinance. It has expired, but it was just recently sold. The papers passed on December 30th, and it was bought by the Chinese Baptist Church.
Oh, so it's going to continue as a church?
It's going to, which is really wonderful to have a church continue as a church. And we worked with the church, helping them get with the real estate issues and going through it so they could assess, what type of work and money it would cost to get it up to the quality that they wanted. And so it's just been that's really rewarding as well.
That's great. That's great. And some of the other projects that you're doing here in the city of Worcester?
Could I just mention about our endangered, one other thing? Yeah. We're accepting nominations through January 15th. So if anybody has an idea of what they would like to nominate, if they see a building that they think is threatened, they can get a nomination form off our website, email it to us, send it to us, fill in as much as you can, even if you just give us the name and the address, and it's confidential. Some people worry that, I can't do this because, somebody will find out it's confidential, and it's proven to be really successful for us.
And what's your website address?
www.preservationworcester.org.
That's great. And it's a great website, so I will coordinate for you. Did a good job.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's easy to navigate. So. And what about the buildings are you involved the buildings at Lincoln Square at all in that area?
I think there are some really signature buildings in the city, such as the clock tower, and I think the courthouse and the auditorium are two other, and the Boys Club are really significant buildings in the city, and we really need to find a use for them.
Developer. Yeah.
And neither one of them is going to be easy. I think especially the auditorium. I was talking to the city manager the other day, and he was saying that he said $200,000 a year to heat that building. That's a lot of money for the city to pay for a building that's empty. And so I'm hopeful that somebody will come up to the plate for buildings like those.
Because you have the Veteran Memorial in front of the auditorium, then you have the whole auditorium, and you have a smaller auditorium too. I think, in the back.
The little theater.
It's a wide open building, and I haven't really been in there since they've used it for storage and for the juvenile court a few years back.
Right.
But it's a significant building, a building we want to see occupied in the future.
Right.
And we want to see the Veteran Memorial to remain the way it is.
That's
and
right.
Fixed up and brought back to like it was when it was first built.
And there are beautiful murals in the auditorium as well in the front of the building that it would really be great for the public to have access to.
We got the flags put up this year. The manager and I talked and talked to some of the veterans when we put up the flags for Veteran Day Parade. So it was a nice, the veterans appreciated that.
I'm sure.
So, and I'm sure the vets would appreciate too, that building, someone occupying the building and restoring the Veteran Memorial. So.
And the auditorium and the fire alarm building were designed by Lucius Briggs, a prominent Worcester architect. He designed both of those buildings.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, very good. Yeah. It's a great area of the city and developing. So more to come, I think, on the auditorium. I think we'll have some good news, hopefully, in the future on that auditorium. Hopefully at the courthouse, maybe someday.
Right.
So,
I hope so
that
too.
courthouse is a great building too. The front, the older part of the courthouse. But,
you know, one of the things about preservation is that I think it often is an economic development tool. Yeah. And you look at something like the Hanover Theater and that restoration and what that has done for the city.
Let's talk about that when we come back from our break. So
okay.
we're going to go to another break right now and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.